Good morning. It's time for another episode of Discipleship today, and we're going to look at discipleship in the eyes of Jesus and Peter. I preach through the liturgy most of the time. This year I'm preaching through the liturgy, and it brought me to this point in Luke where Jesus is instituting the Last Supper. And it's recorded a bunch of different ways depending on who recorded it. And I jumped to the parallel passage. We're actually in Luke, but I jumped to the parallel passage in John chapter 13. And I'm going to read the first 10 verses, and then we're going to talk about discipleship. Now, before the feast of Passover, when Jesus knew his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. During supper, when the devil had already put it in the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garment, and taking a towel, he tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into the basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And he came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet? Jesus answered him, What I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand. Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I do not wash your feet, you have no share with me. And Peter said to him, Lord, not only my feet, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said to him, The one who has bathed does not need to wash, except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you. Here we get the whole idea of what real discipleship is. Real discipleship is sacrificing of yourself to infuse courage into others. And that's what Jesus does here. He's in the middle of his last week, the last few days with his disciples, and he takes on the role of a servant. As a matter of fact, he takes on the role of the lowest servant of the house to serve his people, his disciples. Do we disciple in that way? Are we self-sacrificial with our time, that we give of our time to disciple people? You know, you are surrounded by people. And we are discipling on a regular basis. If you're a parent, you are discipling kids. If you're a grandparent, you're discipling grandkids. You are always training somebody. Somebody's always watching what it is that you're doing. How is it that you're doing? Are you self-sacrificial in doing for people that are around you? And I think that's what we need to learn from Jesus' example, as well as Peter and Paul in the first century, as they just poured into people. That's what it's got to be about. We have to be about how is it that we teach people that are around us, and not in a way that makes them feel low or bad, but in a way that they're looking at how it is that they disciple people. It's that discipleship model that works to make Christianity permeate our society. Why does Christianity not so much permeate our society today? Is because we're not doing what we've been called to be doing. So, as a matter of conviction, please start pouring into people that are around you. Whether they're believers or not, you are discipling people. So for discipleship today, my name is Pastor Bob Benson. Thank you for taking the time to listen.